Having started a new account, I've been given a good idea of what really sucks in the game. And there are so many dumb design decisions in this game that just make no sense or simply have no place in the game. Here's my 10 dumbest things in WoW. 10. The graphics. World of Warcraft certainly has a different kind of art style, I guess. More cartoony. However, that isn't my issue with it. My issue is it still looks like a game from 2008. The textures in newer expansions are great. However, the older expansions look very dated, especially with this engine. The user interface looks fine though. 9. Hearthstone. If anyone has played WoW hardcore, you'd know grinding for mounts and transmog can be a pain in the ass, especially when it's so spread out across the map. Personally, I'd like to see a second or third Hearthstone added to allow players to set base, or at least give players a way to set up a base somewhere to reduce the travel times. It's annoying having only one Hearthstone to get to your specific location. 8. Purposely designed time-wasting mechanics. By this I mean the mechanics which are just so cheap or just so dumb that make no sense, have no consideration, and simply don't make WoW fun. If anyone has ever played 8.2, you'd know the struggles of fighting those monstrosities from the Summon of the Depths. They have some of the worst mechanics I've seen in the game, stunning you and killing you because you can't get out of the stun. Another example is trash mobs. In Nazjata, there are these float rays. They can spawn some trash sometimes. But when you kill the ray that spawned the trash doesn't despawn. Another example of this kind of time-wasting mechanic is the worms from Beyond in 8.3, who reduce mount speed when you fly close as a debuff for 3 minutes. Stacking. These mechanics which don't belong here just make the game not fun. They exist only to waste time. Apparently being one shot by the worms wasn't enough. 7. Seasonal gearing. This shouldn't be controversial to be honest. It's obvious the reason players don't enjoy expansions is because gear is so overcomplicated. Having a new set of gear and item levels to get each patch is overwhelming and boring. Seasonal gearing makes no sense from a game design perspective. Sure, you get better gear when you level up. But in endgame, it makes no sense. At endgame, you're supposed to be powerful from the get-go. BFA didn't do this any favors when it has right traits to take into consideration. 6. Grinding. I can't stand grinds. I've never found the concept of doing the same thing again and again any rewarding or fun. In video games specifically, people use a real-life example, like working. But those are two completely different things. Video games are here for our entertainment, not to be a chore. I honestly have no problem with serving gear on a plate. The difficulty should be based on the encounter, not on what gear you have. 5. The Waypoint system. I never expected such an old game that has been alive for so long to have such an outdated system. Where's the accessibility? Where's the help? 4. Professions. What annoyed me about BFA was the fact professions could easily be the removal of RNG. Welp. They sorta did that, but did it wrong. The RNG was in the secondary stats. But this isn't the only bad thing. Why such few pieces of gear? I don't get it. This could have mitigated so many problems in BFA. Just allow players to craft the gear they need and be done with it. No problem. On top of this crap, they never bothered to add anything interesting to professions either. As far as I'm aware, the consumables are okay, but the mounts and toys were pretty much non-existent as far as I'm aware. 3. Too many currencies. And too many things in bags. The currencies in WoW are so confusing. It could easily be solved by making one expansion type currency. For example, TBC could have Nether Wing dollars. BFA could have Titanic Residuum. You know, just keep it as simple as possible. Stop adding new currencies en masse. 2. RNG on everything. The RNG on gear is annoying. Probably one of the most annoying aspects. However, RNG on mounts and other items is absurd. I have many problems with the "one way to get one thing" mentality. The biggest problem being accessibility. I'm sick and tired of having to do PvP to get my marks of honor, which have a chance to drop. If I spam them, I'll get lucky and get enough, but it isn't always guaranteed. Especially when the alliance are like, handicapped for some reason. My main problem with RNG, if it isn't obvious, is, it's the only way to get that one thing. Sure, it can exist as a secondary option or another way to get something. But I really don't want to be lucky to get another Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent. I'd rather get exalted with all Pandaria reputations to get that. RNG is absurd. Just let players get what they want and be done with it. Legacy loot is a thing. Oh, and bonus rolls. WTF. Honorable mentions that either didn't make this list or weren't impactful enough to warrant a spot here. Firstly, voice acting. Whilst most areas of the game have voice acting, I don't understand what's stopping Blizzard from voice acting everything. It makes the game more accessible that way. For the blind people at least. And do note, there's different types of blindness. Most people don't understand blindness. There's blurred, and then there's non-seeing. Secondly, stats. Another pretty frustrating thing in WoW is stats. Why the hell is there so many? I think all we need is stamina and armor. That's it. The other stats should mean nothing. But no, the developers wanted to overcomplicate things. Adding food and flasks, making different stats for each class, including mastery and versatility. Some classes are better with one stat than others. It overcomplicates things and overwhelms players, often leading them to believe a higher item level piece of gear would be better, even though it has worse stats. Third, immersion. I don't care if the game is not immersive when it comes to the way the game works. I want to be able to walk into a blacksmith, apologize, then ask for some gear. That's all I want. That's immersive. What isn't immersive is things like world quests, endless grinding, etc. There's many other things I'm sure I missed. Fourth, story. The books for WoW are amazing, but even they have their own problems. Sometimes there is not enough action. Other times it just isn't tense or interesting. And probably the worst part of it, straight couples. I'm so fucking bored of these kinds of couples. It's a cliché. No, it doesn't ruin the books, but it would be a nice touch. This also applies to retail. But retail isn't as dark as the books, and that is disappointing. Fifth, no talent changes for different encounters. If I was able to change my talent setup to say, deal with an ad heavy fight, that's good. Make that a thing. I'm fed up of having to use an item to change my talent setup. Just let me do it on the fly, or do it infinitely. 1. Pathfinder. I remember my first time entering Drina. I thought at first it was a bug, not being able to fly, after having flown for 30 levels. I consulted to looking at the forums, asking a friend, trying to find a solution around this bug. I opened a ticket eventually, and I got a response. Wasn't a bug. It was a terrible design choice. And I had to put up with this for 3 expansion. So when I looked into it again later, I discovered there was a grind to unlock flying in Legion and WoD. And the grinds are ridiculous. They take element from most of the things on this list. I don't understand the grinds. The worst so far is Battle for Azeroth. You need to be lucky with emissaries. The reps give 75 each for some reason. You need to do some terrible gamma play to get the other grinds. Rely on RNG too. The quests take too long. It's a clusterfuck. The Pathfinder thing could be solved with this one simple trick. Lore Master and Explorer. That's it. Why not just make those the requirements? Why these reputations? Why do I need to suck some N64 guy's dick to get flying? It makes absolutely no sense, and it really puts into perspective what it's like to lose your dignity as a developer. To the point where you abuse and exploit your players with scumbag design choices like this. And it seems most players agree that flying is a convenience and should be in the game. Especially now you can mitigate it in PvP with the item that dismounts players on a cast. That's all for the list. I've likely missed something, or if I have, it might be part of the list somewhere. WoW is a fun game at its core. The raids are fun. The story is great. Class gamma play is alright. But for the most part, these dumb things take away from the enjoyment and directly affect those parts of the game unnecessarily.